Hi, migrants with migraines. This is Sherouk. Welcome back to another episode. I feel like I haven't hosted in a while, but today's episode is very special because I do have a co-host, which is Diana. We never co-hosted before, so this should be interesting.
This is about to be real fucking fun.
So, what's today's discussion about, Diana?
Today, we're going to talk about all things women, specifically immigrant women. And we're going to talk about the challenges that women face, the self-doubts, the accomplishments, the proud moments, and everything that comes along with that.
Yes. Happy Women's History Month, everybody.
Just so we're clear, we also have Ali on this episode, and this is going to be like a fully planned, recorded, and edited by women episode. So support this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, support women, because if you don't want us to have rights. And I take that personally.
For all of those who don't know Ali, or like just an introduction to Ali again, she was on our Valentine's Day episode, which you should totally check out. It was our Valentine's Day special. And Ali is the person who's basically in charge of our Instagram. She does all of our beautiful posts that if you follow us at Migrants with Migraines on Instagram, you'll see all the hard work that she's been doing. So thank you for being here, Ali.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So let's get right into this poppin' ass episode. I want to talk about the ups and downs of being a woman with y'all. So let's start with the downs, because I'm the type of person who likes to hear the bad news first. What are some challenges that women of color face today, in your opinion?
In my opinion, well, like if you're an immigrant as well, like I came to the US when I was 16 years old. So like there's a lot of things that I feel like are not fair towards women, or like put a lot of pressure on women. Like there's a lot of things that my brother can do, for example, but if I do it, that would be considered like, oh my gosh, this is like the most horrible thing ever. And I feel like that puts like a lot of pressure on us as women. I can only speak from my experience as an immigrant woman that like it really hits hard. Like I already went through a lot of like culture shock and like challenges when I came here at like a relatively old age. Like I was 16, so I had to deal with like the values that I gained from being in the US versus being in Egypt. And like that was already difficult, but here, like whether it's here in the US or in Egypt, there's a lot of things that, in my opinion, or like from what I see, men can do, but if women do it, then it's considered like really bad. Like smoking is like, you can see a guy smoking and that would be okay, but if a woman does, people look at her like, what is she doing? Like this is like really bad. And like the society puts a lot of pressure in that sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sherouk. Like that is such a fucking horrible experience, honestly. And I hate that it's such a like universal experience for women from different parts of the world. I would say that for me, the biggest challenges that I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about like the biggest challenges, because I feel like there's a challenge in almost everything that women do. I could talk about like the medical negligence for brown and Black women who don't get like treated the same way when they're like rushed to the hospital. I could talk about women not being paid the same as men, and different parts of like I could be a brown woman, a Black woman, and I'll get paid less than a white woman, and we'll all be paid less than a white man. So it all comes to like different parts where women just are not treated the same and are not treated with respect.
What's your opinion, Ali?
I guess the most recent one that I think about a lot was the last topic I had when I was talking to my therapist, which was when I'm really scared of what Diana said, which is I'm not going to get paid enough as a white man or any of my white female counterparts. On top of, it's really hard for me to kind of escape the constant anxiety that I face of being an Afro-Latina in the workspace and probably being the only one there, because I've seen it generationally. You get me? Where it's like, you know, speaking on immigrant women and immigrant women of color, like my grandmother came from the DR as credentials in like education, and was a part of their board of education there for like 15 years. Like all through her 20s, she was a part of like the education system of DR. But when she came to America and she came to Florida, it was a problem of, you know, educational transfer. You get me? Where they're like, oh, in this country, your education doesn't transfer the same way, or you guys don't learn the same way, so it's not valid. And it ruined her ability to be a teacher here and work on her trade. And so she had to do a different career path altogether. And I feel like that is something really, really difficult to experience, that I've seen in not just my grandma and not just my own mom, where it's like she is the only like Afro-Latina in that entire office. And because she, and in her generation, had kids on top of that, she could not leave her job. She couldn't afford to leave on the principle of, this space is not serving me, this space is racist openly, I cannot leave though, I must feed my kids. It's probably a problem that is universally faced with all women, because of that expectation of, we have to hold everything down. And now I am scared, being first generation, you know, having to not deal with like the same transition as my grandmother or my mom, but facing that constant anxiety of, am I going to be excluded from spaces because of the unavoidable image of what I show racially, and then what I am ethically, and how that might be also added because I'm a woman. And now my opinions might be demeaned and my perspective might be pushed down. It's something I constantly think about when it comes to like about to leave college and having to deal with that on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely all of this like makes us like anxious all the time, and like we keep thinking about all of those things. And like speaking of kids, the other thing is that like especially moms ask this question a lot, like when are you gonna get married, when are you gonna have kids? And like it's like I just wanna like be able to do it at my own time. I mean, like I'm still gonna do it at my own time, but like this constant pressure, like when are you gonna do this, when are you gonna do this, like you're getting old, you're like 20 blah blah blah, or 30 this, and you're not married, like other people your age have kids, and like this drives me crazy.
It is very, very real. I get that shit from my mom, and she knows I'm not popping out a kid, bro. I get that shit from my mom, and she knows I'm not having no fucking kid right now, bro.
It's like I can barely take care of myself right now. Like we're
Exactly.
all like we really can't, like I can't push a baby right now.
See, even small things like how you said, oh, you're getting too old, you should have a kid soon. Oh my God, I think about that all the time. And that's probably what adds to my anxiety the most, is what I was also talking about in therapy. Shout out to people getting into therapy. Do that more often, because you have crazy revelations. I was talking to my therapist about how like I was constantly comparing myself to the women in my life, and how at 22, right now, my mom already had me. She was out of the house and she was about to move to Florida from Jersey. And she had only been in this country for 10 years. Like, and she was still not a citizen. So that constant fear of her status was always over her head, while her kids might just be stuck here, you know, and, or I would have to go with her. And so that, on top of finding out that my grandmother, like, she was in DR during a war, like DR in the time that my grandmother was 22, I think they had just like, please, somebody, a history buff, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had just gotten over their dictatorship. And they were trying to figure out everything, like economically. They were trying to figure out everything sociopolitically. Like my grandma was talking about how there were still people that were like, better the race. There, where they were like, you have to marry a light skinned Dominican so you can better the race. And that's when my grandmother was facing the pressures of having a child, because she was about to have my mom in about a couple years. So it was this constant comparison and anxiety of my closest examples of womanhood have done so much more than me in the span of their 22 years. Why am I so scared about just graduating college and getting a job? And it was that constant fear of like, am I just not at the caliber that they were? Am I just not good enough? To where this constant fear that I have and anxiety is literally paralyzing me from continuing on with my future and facing change, when there's probably women who are giving birth in war-torn countries, and women who are, trying their best to be mothers in the worst possible situations to be raising children. I think about that all the time, and it gives me so much like anxiety about the pressure that, like we're all discussing as women, of like, why aren't you having a kid right now? Because I think if I push this anxiety on a child, that person would come out to be a monster. I am scared of that. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I wonder what was the difference that it was so easy for them, but like I also like second guess myself a lot when it comes to like especially having a family. I'm like, can I take care of a child? And like I'm like trying to prepare myself. I'm like, I don't know, like I want to be my best self before I have a child, because I don't want to pass anything to my child, like you said. So I'm like constantly anxious about this specifically, and like I have a dog and a tortoise, and like I'm trying to basically like practice with them, because I'm like, at least like if I can practice with my pets, then like I maybe like one day like that would prepare me to be like a mom of a child, and like that's constantly on my mind.
I think it's important to like recognize that it wasn't easy for your mom, Allie, or your grandma. Like when my mom was 21, we were just talking about this the other night. When my mom was 21, she was on her way to this country, and it took her a whole fucking month to get here, bro. A whole month of traveling through so many countries, through deserts, through everything to get to this fucking country, to the US. And it's just, like I think that hearing their stories is easy for us to compare ourselves to them, but we really don't know the reality of the shit that they had to go through. So, take a chill pill, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't fucking easy for them. And it's not going to be easy for you either.
Yeah, you're right now that I think about it. I also think that like because our grandparents were like more like very traditional, I think they even put more pressure on them than the pressure they're putting on us. So they felt like they had to do all of those things because their parents wanted them to do it, because it was like the traditional way. Like you have to get married young, you have to have your kids young. And like probably like you said, Diana, probably it wasn't easy. It was just like that was just like my constant anxiety, or like Ali's as well, that we were talking about. We sometimes we can't think about those things. We just focus on like, why can't we do this, or like we compare ourselves. I think it's very common. Yeah.
No, I get you, bro. My grandma on both sides had like 10 plus kids. Like I think my mom's mom had 11 kids. My mom had 2 and I have 0. So, I think that things change generation to generation, which will be an upcoming episode of BTW. But yeah, I think it's good to recognize the patterns, but also be able to be gentle with yourself now, because you're not your parents, you're not your grandparents, you're not like your past generations, you're you. And you have their wisdom on your shoulders. It may feel like you have their burdens on your shoulders, but you don't. You have their wisdom with you. So Just keep that in mind.
Bars. Drop a couple verses while you're at it.
Yeah, there's just so many things that we like, yeah, so many things to think about. But how, like, unfortunately, the thing that persists until this day is like that we still feel pressure as women from like the society and like in the workplace and all of those areas. So what do you think we can do to change the society's perspective on how women should be treated in the workplace or at home?
Truthfully, this is like not something that we can change soon, unfortunately. Like, I think that this is something that has to be changed like from the very ground up, meaning like conversations like these and talking to other people and educating them, which fucking sucks because like why do I have to educate you on how to treat me like a normal fucking human being? But you know, we're at that point. Like I'm going to El Salvador soon, and my biggest fucking anxiety is that I'm gonna get fucking machetada, like cut down with a machete in the middle of the street, because femicides are a huge fucking thing over there. And you know, I'm not gonna be like, whoa, hold on, don't kill me yet, let me talk to you about how to respect me. Like that's just not gonna work in real life. It's a matter of also taking accountability and being like, oh, okay, women need to be respected, and talking to their homeboys and talking to their family members as much as we talk to our family and friends about being respected.
I completely agree with Diana because I just did a quick Google search. Everybody can do this too, but it'll take like the world, not just America, it'll take the world like 135 years to gain gender equality. And the pandemic set us back like 36 years. So I definitely think Diana is correct when it is so true that we will not be able to finish this within our lifetime, obviously. We just gonna have to deal. We just gonna have to deal with this for the next like 80 years, which is horrible. And yeah, that's going to be a constant situation that needs to be spoken about. I think Diana is right. I'm gonna piggyback off of that. We need to have spaces for women. Like if you are a person with any bit of authority, you need to always keep in mind that there should be spaces for women in whatever you are in. And like don't put it in the same category as, but I just can't give them a job or an opportunity or space because they are a woman. You need to consider the fact that their perspective, their experience, their entire intuition has been based around a female or femme perspective and lens, and the fact that that is completely different than whatever you're experiencing. Especially if you are already a woman in power, why don't you go a step further and give that to a woman who is Black, Indigenous, or a person of color? Because if you are holding any kind of position where you could uplift a voice, try to understand that a woman's perspective is very much still deemed as second-class citizen. The fact that we have had so many legislations in America that have reduced women's rights to the most bare minimum is the problem. Not to mention that worldwide, going back to Diana, femicides are probably the most leading cause of death for women in their home countries, especially in Latin America. It is appalling to the fact that there are just women, people who identify as femme, and trans women who are being killed just on gender base alone. That is something that we must talk about. Talk about that we are in a privileged country where, you know, where our femicide isn't at an all-time high of 100,000 a day like other countries. I think we should absolutely uplift these spaces, and whatever power you can and spread that awareness, you should, because if you don't, you could be missing out on something that you were completely unaware of.
Yeah, to jump onto what Ali said, Like, you have to be able to, men and women have to be able to bring this conversation into their daily life, or not really daily, but bring this into the things that surround them. Like, and what I mean by that is like when someone in your Discord chat or your Reddit thread or whatever starts disrespecting women, call them out. When something is going on in the workplace or school, call them out. Like, this isn't something that's going to go away, especially not when you're ignoring it in your daily life or in your routine. It happens everywhere, and you ignoring it is not going to help anything.
Yeah, I love what you both just said. I think like the change has to come not only organizational change, but also like individual change, like everybody taking accountability, educating themselves, just try to like be better allies to women, or like even like women supporting each other more, or like giving each other like words of encouragement. And like something else that really is literally like my worst, like the worst thing that could happen to me is when like I walk on the streets and like people catcalling on me, or like I feel like I can't be out for so long. I mean, can't be out too late because I'm scared like something's gonna happen, some guy is gonna stop me or something. And that's like a constant anxiety for me. And like I feel like people just need to like have more respect towards women, like maybe like educating themselves, like listening to podcasts like this one, just try to be more open-minded. Like I just want to be able to like just like walk on the streets, at least like that's the most basic thing, to be able to walk on the streets without somebody bothering me or like a random guy stopping me. You know, it literally causes me so much anxiety.
It's really sad, but I think that, like, to add on to what Sherouk said, like, I can guarantee you every woman just wants to be able to exist peacefully. And like that is not granted to us in any situation. Like, I can go on and on and on. But in any situation, we are always fearing for our lives. And men don't have to do that. So keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's very frustrating and sad. But let's move on to the positives. We talked a lot about negatives, which was a lot to talk about because there's so much that we go through. But when do y'all feel most proud of women? So tell me like about some moments when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud to be a woman. I'm so proud of this woman. So let's talk more about that.
I'm going to start, but I haven't experienced this yet, but I'm going to talk about wanting to experience this. So today in my class, we had like 4 tech people come in to talk to my class about like their different careers and what they do and da 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 da. And they were all men. And I was like type upset because, you know, at least there was one Black man on the panel. There was no women on the panels at all. And we're talking like, this is I'm not gonna name the company, but this is like a pretty big business, finance, like all well-rounded company. And they just didn't have any women come up on the panel. And we had like 100 students pull up, bro, and there was no women representation in that. So I can't wait for the day for the women that are around me to be pulling up to these panels and succeeding and talking about their stories, talking about how they made it into tech, how they made it into STEM, how they made it into whatever field they're in. Because I love to see that shit. Nothing makes me happier than to see women succeed.
Yeah, same. Like I recently went to this new exhibit in DC, and it had like 3D prints of women in STEM and like all the amazing things that they did. And it literally made me like so proud as a woman in STEM as well, to see like what everybody's doing, what they accomplished. To everyone who can go to DC, I highly recommend visiting this exhibit. It's just like very like inspiring.
I think my like proudest moment is is kind of something that like I'm going to be doing in the future. Like soon I'm hosting a like women's history and hip hop like paint and listen like at my school. And I've always wanted to like do an event about the two things that I love. I love talking about hip hop. I love it, and talking about the women who held it down forever. I would say a certain amount of years, but they've been holding it down forever. And I'm going to be really proud of myself when I pull that off, just because I feel like it's not talked about enough. I think the hip hop industry has always been like the microcosm of the entire female experience, of just holding it down for years in an industry that is completely like male dominated, but having the best tracks of the summer, having the most memorable verses in maybe songs that are all men in a counterpart way, on top of, you know, being the ones to get masters in their own rights and having their own royalties, you know, artistic privileges and creative privileges and intellectual properties that are never expressed enough in music. Because this is when I feel like hip hop has always been a category where women can not only just say what they want with no worries, but also it's a category where, you know, they can also relate and collaborate with other women in hip hop. You know, there are such a large spectrum of women that we have gotten recently, and I am so proud of all of them. The amount of non-binary, like biologically assigned at birth women that are in hip hop right now that are really trailblazing, making songs that people can relate to emotionally. And I can't wait to host that because I'm gonna go in. The playlist is gonna be fire, and I'm not gonna miss a beat, because I think it's probably the smallest part of an experience that you can have when it comes to where we really need to focus on women of color and women with immigrant experiences and women who have had just experiences in general that aren't typically talked about because they might be considered too heavy. I love it. I love talking about it, and I will talk about it, and I can't wait.
Yeah, that's amazing, Ali. Congrats. Yeah, it's really important to like celebrate ourselves as much as we celebrate others. And like speaking of women in color, I just watched this video of a judge, Judge Jackson. She will be the first Black woman to be nominated to be on the US Supreme Court Justice. And that was just like so touching to watch. I watched this interview of hers giving advice to children on how like to persevere, and like it's hard work to get to where she is today, and like it took her like perseverance, and like just seeing those women like, you know, do amazing things is like, or like doing something that's not, that like women don't usually go into, like you said, Ali, what you're doing is like considered something that women like do not participate in often. So like it's really amazing to like just see women like thriving and like see them do like amazing things.
Yeah, I love watching the nomination trial for Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is killing it. And the honestly, and if anybody who watches the comparison trials between Brent Kavanaugh or even the white Supreme Court justice that they had like nominated after Brett Kavanaugh, none of these questions are the same. None of these questions are the same, and it's totally a fair example of exactly how they're giving her the third degree when she's had more judge experience than all of them. Than all of them. And it's really everything that we've talked about just now in a nutshell. The unfairness and the double standard, on top of her being a Black woman, a judge, having all the qualifications and yet still being questioned and judged and really unnecessarily asked for her, biased opinions in a job that is literally supposed to be neutral.
Yeah, so there is like, as much as there's like a lot of negatives, we talked about some of the positives. And one of the things that we can do as women is like support each other. So how do you think we can empower other women in our lives?
I think how we can support and empower other women in our lives is giving them the space to kind of just, if we see that they are doing something that maybe isn't what we've been talking about this whole time, isn't being gentle with themselves. Diana just clocked my ass right now. She told me to take a chill pill and to realize that I am not my grandmother's and I'm not my mom, and my experiences might be different and my anxieties might be rooted in different things, but I should still be gentle with myself nonetheless, because all of our experiences were hard, but they weren't, harder than others, or they weren't more invalidated than others. So I definitely think when we get the chance as women, let's remind ourselves that with all the shit that we deal with on a daily basis and the things that we already worry about, let's not worry about the things within ourselves. Let us all try to show a little bit more self-confidence and be more decisive and intuitive with our decisions, because that's what women really have been taught to not do. Trust their decisions, trust their intuition, trust themselves, and be confident in what they're doing, because it's not just right because men or the societal statutes that we have up agree with it. It is also right because we feel it is right with us.
That was beautiful. That was really nice. To add on to what you said, I think that so this is like personal to me, but something that I'm gonna take away from this episode, to empower the women in my life, is that I'm excited to talk to my grandma and my tia in El Salvador. I'm excited to kind of show them what my mom left El Salvador for, and be able to pull up to their country and be like, hey, yeah, I was born in the US, but look at everything I've done and look at everything I'm doing. And, just because you didn't get the chance to do that doesn't mean that you won't be able to see women do this in your lifetime. And this is our family, and I'm doing this for all of us.
Yeah, what everybody said is so like great and beautiful, but I think it also goes to like small things, like giving, just like things like giving compliments to women. Like if you see something beautiful about a woman, like tell her like, you look beautiful today, or like, you're a great mom, you're doing a great job. You're like, if you have a coworker who's a woman and like she accomplished something, like say congratulations. I think like those small things like really like uplift women and like show support, because like unfortunately sometimes we get like competitive, or like in the work, like if you have a coworker you get competitive, and like sometimes we do bring each other down. But I think we should practice more like giving compliments and saying congrats and like show support towards each other, because if we can't get it from the outside, then we should do it to each other at least.
Absolutely. There is no competition between women. Like, women competing between each other is just like them believing that there isn't enough room for all of us, which is incorrect.
Yeah.
There's room for all of us to succeed in our own ways. So there's no reason for you to think that there could only be one woman per area of expertise. That's just incorrect. There's room for everyone.
Hey everyone, with that, we're concluding this part of the episode. But before we go, our team wants to show appreciation to all the women out there. So, here's what some of us had to say about women, starting with myself. I'm Sherouk, and what I love most about women is that they can do it all at the same time. They can be hardworking at work, they can be moms, they can be wives, and they can just handle everything all together.
Hey everyone, my name is Obera. I appreciate all of the women in my life that have shown me compassion, that have taken care of me when I'm sick, that have shown me unconditional love and have made me happy. I'm in my lowest points, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Diana, and my favorite thing about women is their resilience and their power, and their ability to look amazing while doing regular everyday things.
Hi everyone, my name is Sergio, and what I love most about women is that they are strong and fearless.
Hey everyone, my name is Marlene, and what I love most about women is that they are independent and compassionate.
Hi, my name is Ali Lopez, and what I love about women is that we move in silence and we make our achievements for the greater perspective of all.